Convenience is the currency of our modern world. We trade a little bit of our attention, a little bit of our data, for a moment of ease. We tap our phones to pay, we speak to our devices to get answers, and we scan a small pixelated square to see a menu, order a meal, or connect to Wi-Fi. The QR code. It's a symbol of effortless connection. A silent, digital bridge between the physical world and our online lives. But what if that bridge leads to a trap? What if that simple, convenient scan is not an invitation, but an ambush? Today we tell the story of Ben and Maya, a young couple who thought they were just having a nice dinner out. They scanned a QR code on their table without a second thought, just like millions of us do every single day. They didn't know that this simple act had just opened a secret door. A door that would allow a thief to walk silently into their digital home, steal the keys to their financial life, and burn it to the ground. This is the story of the poison QR code. Ben felt a familiar warmth as he looked at Maya across the table. They were at the Gilded Fork, a trendy Italian place they'd been wanting to try for months. It was their third anniversary, a small island of celebration in the midst of their busy lives. Ben worked in marketing, Maya was a resident doctor, and moments like these were precious. The restaurant buzzed with conversation and the clinking of glasses. On their table, nestled between the salt shaker and a small vase of flowers, was a laminated card with a QR code. The text above it read, "Scan for our menu and daily specials." Progress, huh? Ben chuckled, pulling out his phone. Remember when we had to actually hold a giant menu? Maya smiled. I kinda miss it. But this is faster, I guess. Ben opened his camera app, centered the black and white square in the frame, and a notification popped up. He tapped it. A website loaded, displaying a sleek, well-designed menu for the Gilded Fork. Everything looked perfect. The logo, the fonts, the mouth-watering descriptions of pasta dishes. As he scrolled, a pop-up appeared on the screen. It was professionally designed, matching the restaurant's branding perfectly. Anniversary special. Pay through our new secure mobile portal today and get 15% off your entire bill. Click here to pre-authorize. Hey, look at this, Ben said, showing the phone to Maya. 15% off if we pay through this link. Not bad. Are you sure? Maya asked, a hint of her doctorly caution showing through. Is that legit? It looks like their official site, Ben reasoned. Same logo and everything. Probably a new thing they're trying out to get people to use mobile payments. This is the first critical step of the scam. Plausibility and allure. The phishing website is a perfect clone of the real one. The offer of a discount is a powerful psychological trigger that encourages people to lower their guard. We are naturally drawn to a good deal. Ben clicked the link. It took him to a clean, professional-looking payment page. It asked for a name, card number, expiration date, and the 3-digit CVV code. It looked exactly like dozens of payment portals he'd used before. He pulled out his debit card and carefully typed in the numbers. He hit submit. A loading icon spun for a few seconds. And then a new page appeared with a simple error message. Transaction failed. Authorization could not be completed at this time. We apologize for the inconvenience. Please pay your server at the end of your meal. Ah, well, Ben said with a shrug. Guess it's buggy. Worth a shot. He locked his phone and put it away, the pop-up and the failed transaction already forgotten. He and Maya went on to have a wonderful dinner. They talked, they laughed, they shared a tiramisu. At the end of the night, Ben paid with the same physical debit card the transaction went through without a hitch, and they walked out into the cool night air hand in hand, completely unaware of the digital time bomb that had just been set. The error message was not a bug. It was a feature of the scam. It's designed to make the victim believe the interaction was a harmless technical glitch. They don't cancel their card, they don't worry. Meanwhile, the scammer has exactly what they wanted, Ben's full debit card information. But the real damage was even deeper. What Ben didn't see was that by interacting with the malicious payment portal, a tiny, invisible piece of spyware had been downloaded onto his phone. The request to pre-authorize was the bait, but the spyware was the hook. The next 3 days were completely normal. Ben used his phone for everything, checking emails, scrolling social media, and crucially, logging into his mobile banking app to check his balance and pay a bill. He never noticed a thing. The spyware was designed to be silent, to be invisible. It acted as a keylogger, dutifully recording every tap, every character he typed into his phone, The scammers were patient. They didn't just have his debit card number anymore. They now had something far more valuable, the username and password to his entire bank account. The attack happened on a Friday night, while Ben and Maya were at home watching a movie. This timing is intentional. Scammers often strike at the beginning of a weekend, knowing that bank fraud departments may have slower response times. The thief, located thousands of miles away, logged into Ben's bank account. They didn't need to guess his security questions. They didn't need to reset his password. They walked right through the front door with the keys he had unknowingly given them. Once inside, they saw his entire financial life. A checking account with about $6,000, a savings account where he and Maya were saving for a down payment on a house, holding just over $42,000. The scammer worked quickly. They couldn't just wire all the money out. That would trigger instant fraud alerts. Instead, they began a series of carefully planned transactions designed to fly under the radar. First, a series of Zelle payments to different accounts, each one just under the bank's automatic flag limit. $2,000 here. $1,800 there. Then, they used his account to purchase thousands of dollars in non-refundable electronic gift cards for Apple and Amazon, a favorite way for criminals to launder money. Finally, they linked his account to a cryptocurrency exchange and began buying Bitcoin, siphoning the money into an anonymous digital wallet. Within an hour, Ben's life savings were gone. Dismantled, laundered, and scattered across the globe, disappearing into the untraceable ether of the internet. The discovery came the next morning. Ben went to a coffee shop. When he went to pay, his card was declined. A familiar, sickening echo of so many of our stories. He stepped outside, his heart beginning to pound, and logged into his banking app. He stared at the screen in disbelief. Checking account balance. 37.14 savings account balance. 1,500.00. The savings balance wasn't zero only because the bank's daily transfer limits had finally kicked in, stopping the thief mid-theft. $47,000 vanished. He frantically scrolled through the transaction history. Zelle, Apple, Coinbase, a long, horrifying list of withdrawals he had never made. He called the bank's fraud department, his voice shaking with a mixture of rage and panic. The investigation began immediately. As they traced the breach, the bank asked him about his recent activities. Had he clicked on any strange links? Had he given his information to anyone? No, of course not, Ben insisted. I'm always so careful, and then a memory flickered. The restaurant, the pop-up. The failed transaction. Wait, he said, the blood draining from his face. There was this one thing, he explained the story. The bank's fraud agent listened patiently. When Ben was done, there was a heavy silence on the line. Sir, the agent said, his voice grim. It sounds like you were a victim of a QR Code Phishing attack or QRLjacking. We've been seeing a sharp increase in these cases. Ben's mind reeled. He called the Gilded Fork. The manager was horrified. Sir, our QR code only links to a PDF of our menu, he explained. We don't have a mobile payment portal. We would never ask for card details through a QR code. The truth was sickeningly simple. A criminal had likely walked into the restaurant during a busy hour, slapped their own malicious QR code sticker over the real one on the table menu, and then simply waited for a victim to scan it. It was a low-tech physical crime that opened the door to a high-tech robbery. Ben and Maya weren't the only ones. Several other patrons had been hit that same week. The laminated card on the table hadn't been a bridge to convenience. It had been a booby trap. Ben's story is a terrifying wake-up call. We trust QR codes implicitly, but we shouldn't. They are an opaque technology. You have no idea where that code will take you until you've already scanned it. Let's break down the mechanics of this scam and how you can protect yourself. First, the anatomy of the scam. 1. The physical drop. The scammer places a malicious QR code sticker over a legitimate one in a public place. Restaurants, parking meters, and public transit stations are prime targets because people there are often distracted and in a hurry. 2. The phishing site. The code directs to a cloned website that looks official. It uses a powerful lure, like a discount or free Wi-Fi, to entice the victim into entering personal information. 3. The double dip. The most sophisticated versions, like the one Ben encountered, don't just steal the initial data. They also use the interaction to install malware or spyware on the device, giving them long-term access to everything on your phone. 4. The cover-up. The scam often ends with a fake error message. This clever step makes the victim dismiss the event as a technical glitch, buying the scammer precious time to use the stolen information before the victim realizes anything is wrong. Second, the red flags you must learn to spot. Physically inspect the QR code. Does it look like a sticker placed on top of another sign? Does it seem flimsy or poorly printed? If it looks suspicious, it probably is. Preview the URL before opening. Many modern smartphone cameras and QR scanning apps will show you a preview of the web address before it opens the site. Look at it carefully. Does it look legitimate? Watch for subtle misspellings like PayPal with a hyphen or a domain that ends in net instead of .com. Be suspicious of shortened links. If the preview shows a shortened URL from a service like Bit.ly, be extra cautious. You have no way of knowing where that link will redirect. A menu should be a menu. A QR code in a restaurant should lead directly to a menu. If it first takes you to a page asking for a login, a download, or any personal information whatsoever, close the browser immediately. It is a trap. Never download software from a QR code. No restaurant or parking meter needs you to install an app or a security certificate to function. This is a huge red flag for a malware attack. How to protect yourself. 1. When in doubt, type it out. If you're at a restaurant, it's always safer to manually type their website address into your browser than to trust a QR code on the table. 2. Use a secure payment method. When paying for things, use a credit card instead of a debit card. Credit cards offer much stronger fraud protection, and your liability is often limited. Your primary bank account is not directly exposed. 3. Keep your phone software updated. Updates often contain critical security patches that protect you from the latest malware threats. 4. Install a reputable mobile security app. These apps can often detect and block malicious websites and downloads before they can do any harm. The promise of convenience is powerful, but it can make us complacent. Ben and Maya eventually recovered a portion of their stolen funds after a long and stressful battle with their bank, but their sense of security was shattered. They learned the hard way that in today's world, even an action as simple as scanning a menu requires a healthy dose of suspicion. Don't let a poisoned QR code be the entry point for a thief into your life. Pause, look, and think before you scan. Thank you for listening to True Scam Stories. Stay safe and stay aware.